Shooting something in one take can mean two different things. In the case of most of the entries on this list, it means that a certain scene was filmed in one long, unbroken shot with no editing required. But for a couple of entries, it means that the take that ended up in the finished product was the only one filmed. The actors and crew nailed the scene first time to the point where the director decided that once was more than enough. One way or the other then, I'm SKYE for WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 amazing TV scenes shot in one take. Number 10, The Shootout, Stranger Things. Though infinitely more famous for introducing millions of young people to Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, Season 4, Episode 4 of Stranger Things actually contains another scene that is expertly pulled off. Whilst Eleven is completing her training, Mike, Will and Jonathan are all confined to the barracks at the Byers family home. They get some protection from a couple of agents though, they're not idiots. And it's a good thing they did because the house ends up getting stormed by a bunch of military personnel, which leads to a huge gunfight. The scene was filmed in one long continuous take in order to capture the mayhem and frenzy of a home invasion. Charlie Heaton, who plays Jonathan, was grateful for the decision as he said it made the scene feel more real. It's a shame that the rest of the action in Chapter 4, Dear Billy, somewhat overshadows the technical ability needed to pull off a scene like this. With all the otherworldly stuff going on in Hawkins, it's weird to think that a relatively run-of-the-mill action sequence was done in such a spectacular way. Still, when have the team behind Stranger Things ever done things by halves? Number 9, SHAINA'S transformation. Kidding. Though it only lasted 2 seasons, Showtime's Kidding was a pretty good show with a decent little premise. It starred Jim Carrey as a children's TV show host who goes through a personal tragedy. Carrey was excellent in the role, combining drama and comedy perfectly, and the show was jam-packed with guest stars from Danny Trejo to Ariana Grande to Dick Van Dyke. A recurring performer was Ricki Lindhome, one half of comedy music duo Garfunkel and Oates. She played Shaina, a former drug addict who turns her life around after watching Carrey's character's show. Her transformation is summed up in a single shot. The camera revolves around her front room, condensing years of Shaina's life into a few minutes as she decorates her apartment, gets in shape and even gets a dog. This was all filmed in a single take, with the cast and crew following a strict plan to make sure the set changes ran smoothly and off camera. The behind the scenes video that was released showing how it was all done is simply incredible to watch, but also stressful. Really stressful. Number 8, SKYE vs. HYDRA, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The MCU's first foray into episodic television, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. became yet another thing to watch as Marvel slowly consumed all of our lives in the 2010s. The show focused on SKYE, who was actually Daisy Johnson, who was actually an Inhuman called Quake, but let's just call her SKYE to avoid any confusion. SKYE is front and centre for this entry, which involves her taking down a series of HYDRA agents at a military base. The scene was heavily coordinated ahead of time as it needed to be gotten in a single take with 0 cuts. So you can imagine the stunt team's joy when they found out that the production team hadn't built the set correctly. With some minor tweaks, filming was on. Although they got what they needed, it came at a price. Actor Chloe Bennett actually broke her arm midway through filming the sequence and had to soldier on in unbearable pain. Hang on, are we sure she's not actually a superhero? Fans were happy that she did, as the scene is awesome. It was the clearest step so far in SKYE's journey from timid hacker to butt-kicking machine. Number 7, the prison fight, Daredevil. Sticking with Marvel now, and the first part of its Defenders crossover series that everybody definitely watched and still remembers today, right? Charlie Cox's portrayal as Matt Murdock brought the character to a whole new generation of fans and did a lot to wash out the awful taste left by the 2003 movie starring Ben Affleck. Blech. One of the most legendary scenes in the entire show is the epic 11-minute long fight that takes place between Daredevil and the corrupt inmates of Wilson Fisk's old prison. The impressive sequence was shot in one take and featured a lot of elaborate chops and changes. Cox had to swap in and out with his stunt double without anybody noticing, as well as coordinating his movements with the dozens of extras and crew members on set. All of that whilst also acting. How did he do it? Mad props to the team that put this thing together and the maniacs behind the scenes who actually thought it up in the first place. It was heralded as one of the greatest action sequences of all time upon its release, and with good reason. Number 6, The Robbery, True Detective. The first season of HBO's True Detective made a lot of people sit up and go, hey, TV isn't just 2 hammy actors on a cardboard set anymore. Who'da thunk? The show pushed the boundaries of what was possible on the small screen, not just with its storylines, but also its filmmaking techniques. Case in point, the robbery gone wrong from the 4th episode, Who Goes There? Director Cary Joji Fukunaga had already made use of the long take technique in his previous work and went into True Detective knowing that he was going to use it again. The production team must have been thrilled. Fukunaga faced serious obstacles when it came to shooting the scene, including a particularly tricky sequence involving 2 characters climbing over a chain link fence. Lead actor Matthew McConaughey and the rest of the team only had a day and a half to prep ahead of the shoot, but they did it, and what an end result. Tense and exciting, the 6-minute scene throws you headfirst into the danger and does not let up for a minute. It's a marvel of filmmaking and helped solidify the show's standing as a modern classic. Guess you could say it was alright. Number 5, Two Storms, The Haunting of Hill House. Loosely based on Shirley Jackson's novel, The Haunting of Hill House was Netflix's attempt to scare the living snot out of all of us. Directed by horror aficionado Mike Flanagan, Hill House did incredibly well and even spawned a follow-up series, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Its acting, plot, and the camera work on the show were all praised. Perhaps none more so than this episode in particular. Titled Two Storms, the 6th episode of Hill House follows the central family across 2 separate timelines. One set of events is taking place in the past, the other in the present day. Oh, and there's a storm in each of them, clues in the name. Whilst the episode is filmed to look like a single uninterrupted take, it's actually 5 uninterrupted takes stitched together. Now, jokes aside, this is seriously impressive, especially when you consider one of the takes is 17 minutes long. To achieve this remarkable feat, the 2 main sets were built with this specific episode in mind. The set was also closed for a month whilst the crew walked through the script without the actors. An extremely complex arrangement to create an episode with a seamless sense of flow. Ironic, really. Number 4, the ending. Blackadder goes forth. Sometimes a scene is done in one take because of various technical limitations or to achieve a desired effect. This one was done because it was so damn emotional. The premise of Blackadder, a British sitcom that ran over 4 seasons, was that each incarnation would feature the descendants of characters from a previous series. Rowan Atkinson, yes, Mr. Bean, played the Blackadder in the first season, then Lord Blackadder in season 2, before finally arriving at Captain Blackadder in the 4th season set in World War I. By the time it came to film the climax of the show, in which Blackadder and his men leave their trenches to enter open combat, the actors had gotten very accustomed to playing their characters. Naturally, a scene that involved them getting all gunned down was hard to swallow. When director Richard Bowden was dissatisfied with the first take, the actors refused to do another. So, with the help of slow motion and a couple of filters, the scene was totally changed in post. And the end result is considered one of the most poignant and emblematic scenes in British TV history, a perfect summary of the madness of conflict. Not bad for a make-do. Number 3, review, The Bear. What do you look for in a TV show? Excitement? Romance? Escapism? If your answer is stress, first of all, are you okay? Second of all, then The Bear might just be for you. This FX show is about a chef who takes over his recently deceased brother's restaurant. Not only does it reflect the turmoil of working in a kitchen, but also gets under the skin of the various damaged people who populate it. Nowhere is this more evident than in the episode Review. Filmed entirely on one 17-minute long take, Review presents a scathingly honest insight into the world of cuisine on a particularly busy night at the restaurant. Orders are coming in too fast, tensions between co-workers are high, and it all culminates in lots of shouting and people stabbing each other. Think Gordon Ramsay, but worse. The team behind The Bear considered doing the episode in multiple takes and stitching them together, but in the end that idea was abandoned. And thank goodness. Review's honesty is what makes it so great, and knowing that it was heavily edited would have seriously detracted from it. We just hope everyone was able to get their blood pressure down afterwards. Number 2, The Conversation, Mad About You. Beating out Review by 5 whole minutes, The Conversation is an episode of sitcom Mad About You from 1997 that was filmed over a single 22-minute take. The show that gave us Ursula Buffet before she appeared on Friends, Mad About You starred Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt as a married couple living in New York City. The 6th season of the show is shaken up by the pair having a baby, which is what leads us to The Conversation. Whilst trying to train their daughter to sleep on her own, Reiser and Hunt's characters have an uninterrupted, unedited conversation outside her bedroom. It's filmed on a single camera with no cuts. It's an extraordinary piece of television, capturing the raw emotion felt by new parents as sincerely as possible. The entire thing was shot twice, once with an audience and once without. The finished product took just 25 minutes to film instead of the usual 3 hours. Not just one of the greatest examples of a one-take episode, but also a bottle episode in television history, The Conversation still holds up even with everything that has come after it. And number 1, Pizza on the Roof, Breaking Bad. Sure, filming an entire episode of a TV show in one go is impressive, and sure, filming an epic action sequence without cutting away is a mighty fine achievement. But nothing on this list can hold a candle to a bald chemistry teacher and a delicious Italian foodstuff. In the episode Cabala Sin Nombre, after his attempts to reconcile with wife Skyler go awry, Breaking Bad protagonist Walter White angrily storms off, giant pizza in hand. In his rage, he angrily throws the box into the air. The enormous pie sails upwards, landing perfectly on the roof of the White household. All of this was done on the very first try. How actor Bryan Cranston managed to do this at all is outstanding. The way the box opens mid-air, letting the pizza out at just the right time, cinema. And yes, he did it in one take. The pizza on the roof scene is iconic amongst the Breaking Bad faithful. Knowing that it happened on the very first try just adds to its legend. Never mind the well-delivered monologues or the devastating facial expressions or the perfectly curated mannerisms, this is Bryan Cranston's finest work on television. Give him another Emmy just for this. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Which of these single takes is your favourite? And of course, let us know of any others that we could have included. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. You can follow me on Twitter at Siniac_123. You can head over to whatculture.com for more content every day. I've been Si for What Culture, and have a good week.